Hello, everybody. This is CJ Wiley with more adventures on the road. When I was back hustling pool, there was like three different scenarios that I used to like to create when I was traveling. I would either travel with one man or two men, either other players or big gamblers, or sometimes the other guys had other areas of expertise, like they were, great card players or dice players. And the other scenario was I would travel with very attractive women because that also gave me an edge. I didn't really like traveling alone. I have, but it just didn't work as well without somebody to have as a shill. And you'll see that even on a large scale. Like right now, we have a big shill we have to watch every day that's taken our attention off what's really going on. And it's a very classic hustler move. As long as you can put somebody that takes their attention off what you're doing, it frees you up to perform the hustle without them really being able to catch on to what you're doing. So whether it's the level I was at or the level we're all dealing with, as a country, it works the same way. So I want to tell you about an experience I had traveling with an attractive female. I had just been with Omaha John. Whoa, God, I about hit two deer almost ran out in front of me. They turned around and ran back, thank goodness. That would have been a plot twister, wouldn't it? But anyway, I was traveling with Omaha John, and we'd been through Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, and we'd won about $20,000. And so I went to Atlanta to visit a friend of mine, John, who I've talked about before. He was going to Georgia Tech, and I went and stayed with him and took about a month off. We used to play tennis tournaments together. He was second in the state of Missouri in high school tennis, and we used to play almost every day. And then I got to playing with the college players in Kirksville, Missouri, at Northeast Missouri State University. And one of the last times I played competitively, I beat their number one player, who was named Carlos Norton, who was from Mazatlan, Mexico. And that was a great accomplishment for me because that year they got second in the country in NCAA Division II tennis. So to beat Carlos was quite an accomplishment. He was really a better tennis player than me, but I had my moments, and I was real aggressive. I played tennis like I played pool. I went for everything, and I hit my serve over 90 miles an hour. So, I was a pretty strong offensive player. But anyway, back to Atlanta. After John and I were finished with our road trip, he went back to Omaha, and I went to Atlanta. And again, for about a month, I didn't play pool. So when I decided to play again, I went into Marietta, Georgia, to a little bar, and I played a guy named Randy Randalls. I think he's still there. I met his son last time I was there. But anyway, I did what I usually do. I stalled with him, and we started out betting 20 a game, then 50 a game. I'm betting on the side, and pretty soon I'm betting like 150 a game or more. And when it was time to come out of the stall, I couldn't do it because I hadn't been playing enough. And he was a really good player on a bar table, so he beat me out of 1,700. So when I was going back to John's, I was beating myself up. I was like, CJ, what in the world? How could you not beat this guy? You had him right in the position. I was going to win like 3,000 or 4,000, and instead I lost 1,700. About halfway home, it dawned on me. I was like, wow, this is like the ideal lemon to lay down. A lemon in the pool terminology is when you usually lose on purpose with the intention of coming back and playing again and betting a lot more and being able to play maybe weaker players to begin with. Because once they see you lose, they feel dominant and they think you're a sucker. So people that would never play you if they didn't know you would all of a sudden get the courage to play. So I'd just make a list, and then I'd go down that list and just play the weaker players all the way up to the top. by the time I got to the top in Atlanta, who was Eugene Browning and Paul Turner. They were the two best in Atlanta, but they were giving me like the seven ball. So I beat all of them, and they were getting backed by this guy named Dean Moore. I called him Mean Dean, who definitely earned his name. If anybody knows who Mean Dean was, he was not to be messed with. But he respected me because I was so young, and I just never showed any fear. I just went in and bet my own money and bet as high as I wanted to. And when I beat him, there was just nothing he could do. I mean, I did have a little bit of concern about something happening to me, but it never did. And Dean was really always cool with me. So he's no longer with us, or I might not be mentioning his name. But anyway, in the course of that time that I was taking him off, and I won, over 20,000 in the next 3 or 4 weeks. But I met this girl named Zia, who was just an incredibly attractive girl. Just I can't even explain how pretty she was, but she took a liking to me because I was winning and, had a lot of social status, and I don't know, maybe she just liked me. So we were partying, on that money and having a good time. And I told her, I said, let's go on the road. She's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. It sounds exciting. So we started traveling around. And at the time I had this red, white, and blue pool case that was like a soft case. And I had a really good pool cue. I've told stories that I used to spray paint my pool cues black. Even a Bala Bush guy I painted black. And it wasn't even a good quality of black. I'd put it on a little too thick to where it'd start kind of peeling off, and it looked like it had some kind of billiard leprosy. And people would actually make fun of my cues, not realizing that the cue I had was better than any cue that they could possibly have for the most part. And so anyway, there's two different hustles that we would do when I was with Zia. Is we'd both go into a pool room right after it opened, and we would just march right up to the guy behind the bar there, and I would say, I was wearing, you gotta know, I was wearing a hat that said "Making Bacon" with two pigs making love on the hat, and I'd wear like a camouflage jacket and Wolverine boots, and I carried my money in a wallet instead of carrying it like a gambler in my front pocket. I basically mismatched everything that other pool players did, and it was effective, especially because I looked so young, and I understood, how to hustle people because I'd been around some of the best hustlers in the country already at that time. So we would go in and march right up to the bar, and I'd ask the guy there, I'd say, I'm really good. Is anybody as good as me? And he'd look at me like, what do you mean? I said, I'm really good. Is anybody as good as me? And he said, you mean at pool? I said, yeah, that pool game. And I'd point to a pool table. Well, he would say, well, there's nobody in here, so nobody's as good as you. And I'd turn to Zia and I'd say, I told you nobody was good as me. And we'd turn around and head for the door. Well, they never let me get to the door. He would yell at me and say, hey, kid, do you want to gamble playing pool? And I'd say, I'd stop with her and turn around and go, well, yeah, but nobody's as good as me. And he'd say, well, I think I know some guys that might be as good as you. I can call them if you want to, if you'll play for like 20 a game. And so I agreed to that, reluctantly, of course. And he would call somebody, and they'd be down there within like 10 or 15 minutes. And of course, I'd stall around with them and get the bet up and win that money. And Zia would be over there just kind of flirting with the guys and smiling at them. And it worked pretty good. The other thing that we did was I'd send Zia into a pool room that I knew there was a lot of gambling. And she'd go play pool by herself. And these guys would come up and talk to her. And she'd act like she was upset. she'd say, no, I'm waiting for my boyfriend, but he's in a poker game and he always loses. If he loses again, I'm just going to leave his ass. And so anyway, the guys would start thinking, that I was a sucker. And then when I did come in, she would say, did you lose again? And I'd say, no, I won this time. And I'd show, a bankroll of, what looked like a lot of money. Sometimes, it was disguised because being that young, I didn't want to carry too much money because there was a chance of getting robbed. And, I've told stories of being robbed before, so I always was a little bit careful about that. But, it never failed. These guys would get up there trying to beat me, I think to win her, is what they thought in their mind. So, they were just like shooting ducks out of a barrel. And I've ran that, hustle with her many times. So anyway, we went around the country. We won a lot of money. And I remember back then, she had this silver jewelry. And at the time, I was really into gold, and I really didn't like silver. It's funny because it's kind of changed through the years, but I remember I told her, I said, I'll replace all the jewelry that you have with gold, everything much more expensive, but you got to throw your silver stuff away. And she agreed because she wanted the gold. So we went to a mall, went to a jewelry store, and I replaced everything that she had with, jewelry that was much nicer. It was gold and expensive. And then we left the mall, and I was like, okay, you got to get rid of yours. And she looked at me like a little puppy dog and batted those eyes. And I said, no, you're not going to do that to me. You've got to throw it away right now. And I got her to throw the silver jewelry that she had in a trash can right there in the mall before we left. So, but we had really good times, but it ran its course. So I ended up taking her back to Atlanta and going on my way with some other hustlers, and just kind of forgot about her. Now, fast forward like 8 years later, and I was at a tournament in Chicago, and the word was out, that because I was coming on the scene, and there was a lot of publicity, and she found out that I was in Chicago, and that's where she had went to live. So she got a hold of me, and I said, yeah, why don't you come down here and we'll hang out. So she comes down to the tournament. We go to the bar and have a few drinks and, reminisced about old times. I mean, we were still on good terms. So anyway, I said, you want to go see my fish collection? That's what I told her, I think, when I met her. And so I just used the same line. And she was like, I thought you'd never ask. So we went up to my hotel room, and for obvious reasons. So we were still talking and everything, and it came up. She was like, so how old are you now? And one thing I didn't say was when we met, I really liked her because I was 19 and she was 23. So I really liked the idea of being with an older woman, and she was hot, and, I felt like that was really a great accomplishment, for a 19-year-old male. And so she says, how old are you now? And I was like, I'm 27. And she says, oh, yeah, okay. She says, that makes sense. She says, I'm 25. And I hesitated for a moment, and I was like, 25? I said, that doesn't make any sense. I said, when we met, I was 19 and you were 23. I said, how did you get younger than me? And she says, oh, there's something I never told you. She said, when I was down there, I had a fake ID that said I was Zia and that I was 23 so I could get in the bars because I was only 17. And I was like, oh, man. And I said, okay. I said, you've got to go. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, man, you lied to me about your age, and I don't even know what your name is. And it didn't even matter at that point, because I was a hustler, but I really never liked to get hustled, especially like that, because we had traveled quite a bit and went through all these times. I mean, we were pretty serious, and I was calling her the wrong name and had no idea that she was actually younger than me. So that hit me pretty hard. After she left, I was a little upset, to tell you the truth. Not because she gave me the wrong name and was younger than me. It was because I was like, God, CJ, you should have had sex with her before you told her to get out. Hey, I was 19, you know what I mean? That's a male thing. But anyway, if you want to know more about my adventures on the road, check my YouTube channel out. If you're already there, I'd appreciate it if you like, share, and become a member of my website if you want to learn more about my fundamentals and systems and techniques I use to become the ESPN World Champion and one of the best players in the world. And that's at www.cjwiley.com. And leave a comment. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. If you have any questions about your pool game, I'll be happy to answer it. And I just want to say I appreciate you watching, and I will talk with you soon.